Hey there, friends, and welcome back to season 2 of the Define Success podcast. I'm your host, Bailey Guy. Join us as we empower you to turn your can'ts into cans and your aspirations into achievements. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Define Success. I'm so excited for our guest today. Her name's Alli, and she's actually a friend of mine. I'm so excited to have her on. She really inspires me, and I know that she has so much value to give to you guys that are listening at home. She's also a pageant girl, which we love that. So, very excited to have Alli on. If you haven't met her, I'll go ahead and read her bio. So, Alli Stovall is a youth advocate, author, TEDx speaker, and Miss America local ambassador dedicated to helping kids across the country build confidence, emotional intelligence, and leadership skills through her youth initiative, Elevate Gen. She's taught hundreds of lessons across the United States, advocated at the United Nations. Yep, United Nations, and given the Gen Z perspective on the TEDx stage. Alli has built a career in nonprofit development, helping raise millions for mission-driven organizations across the Carolinas through intentional events and partnerships. She's also the founder of Just As Planned Productions, a wedding and event planning company known for intentional design, seamless execution, and heartwarming content creation. We all could use a little content creation in our lives, especially in pageants. Whether she's speaking on national stages, developing programs for youth leaders, or for young leaders, or supporting nonprofits that change lives, Alli is driven by one mission: to equip and inspire the next generation to lead with confidence and compassion. So everyone welcome Alli. Yay!
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here. I actually listened to the podcast, so I'm excited to, hear myself amongst the
Yay!
amazing other guests. So it's so fun.
Well, I'm so excited to have you on. That's so fun. I love hearing whenever people listen to it and gain value from it. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate that. And I just think
Yeah.
you're so amazing. So I can't wait to learn from you and for our audience to learn from you as well. So jumping right in, you have done some incredible appearances. Tell me what have been just a couple of your favorite appearances that you've done, and then what's your advice for and your approach for getting your foot in the door with those appearances?
I would say that my favorite appearance probably wasn't so much as a title holder, but just as a human and a youth advocate. I got to speak at the International Youth Conference, which is sponsored by the United Nations UN 80 initiative, which is basically their goal of educating and equipping young leaders across the world with the tools and resources and also the platform. So I got to be part of the live streamed free piece that was streamed to millions and millions of people across the globe, and seeing people's names pop up with questions and countries of where they were from, of places that I could only ever dream of going to. I was actually speaking to and interacting with on a major level, and that was super, super cool and really exciting. I would truly just say that I just kind of go for it. I think that I live by the motto of you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I hear a lot of no's and I hear a lot of silence back for sure. But I also hear a lot of yeses, and it builds me to make connections. I also think that it's really important that you don't burn bridges, because people that I've met years ago are the people who are giving me the opportunities today. And so making sure that you're always being kind, you're always leading with your best foot forward, and that you are extremely intentional about making sure that everyone you meet and every interaction you have gets a touch of your mission and a touch of your heart, because they carry that with them.
I love that. And I think that networking is a really good thing that you kind of touched on with building those relationships. I mean, I cannot tell you how many appearances that I've gotten as well from connections I made years and years ago. And just people will remember. And sometimes just putting yourself out there, saying that you love being involved in the community, you love doing this, you love doing that. People do remember those things. And then when they are in charge of finding people that do exactly that for an event, they'll call you up. And that's happened to me several
Mhm.
times. So that's so great. Really good advice. What do you think is when it comes to fundraising? Because you've helped raise millions of dollars for nonprofits. You're very involved in the nonprofit sphere. What is your advice for raising those big fundraising dollars? But also, what is a mistake that people make in fundraising that you would advise people to avoid?
So I work in nonprofit development, which is just a fancy way of saying I work for nonprofits, planning events and fundraising. But I've learned so much insight working there and being a part of that. And there is definitely levels. And I think it's very clear to know that there's levels because that's where people get frustrated. And even at an organization who has a multi-million dollar operating budget, they still have tiers of fundraising. They're still hitting, the teeny tiny small 5, 10, $25 initiatives as well as the tens and hundreds of $1,000 initiatives. And it's important that you see that big picture and not just that they're going out and they're doing this one event and they're making millions of dollars. That's genuinely not the case at all. On the local level, especially as title holders, I think there is a lot of pressure to host events or to get a lot of in-kind sponsorships or, to really be in this pageant sphere of fundraising and people, you go back to the same people over and over again. And while that's great, there's also an opportunity to expand horizons. A big thing to meditate on whenever you're creating sponsorship packages or looking for people to donate is those same people who you're asking for money year after year after year after year, they're great and they're donating small amounts to your causes, whether it's this fundraiser or that fundraiser. But you also need to make sure that you're creating a new target audience in everything that you're doing. So for me, if I'm going and I'm creating a gala, I'm targeting major businesses that are looking for extreme marketing packages that want to be in a room where they can network with other top CEOs, creating and building business to business partnerships in that room. If I'm working on something in pageant land, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to make sure that the people who are viewing that content are the people who want to be in that space. So those princess breakfasts where all of those little kids and little girls and moms who are following you and they look up to you and they're so excited to be a part of your world, that's where they're going to buy in. That's where they're going to attend. And so making sure that that event is super curated to that audience that you're trying to reach that will spend money on this. When you're trying to get sponsorships at a tiered level for pageants, making sure that those levels include things that those sponsors actually want. So if you're going to your local, car washing detail place and the owner, you have a bit of a connection but you're not sure if they'd give you money, making sure that those levels, exactly what level is going to speak the most to them and is going to make the most sense for their company. So if they need that social media marketing, if they need those reels, that's what you're going to really push and that's what you're going to hammer home whenever you're talking to them. But if they need more like printed ads and they want to just have that space there, another great opportunity is if you can get an in-kind sponsorship from a digital billboard company. They run those ads all the time and they have an in-kind like nonprofit budget because they can't always be full. There can't be always be something on them. And if you partner with them and allow that to be part of your marketing sponsorship levels too, that becomes a really great opportunity that you can sell to businesses to increase their dollar spend.
I've never thought about that. What a great piece of advice for people to take with them. So going on that, what are some avenues that you think that a lot of pageant girls in particular are not tapping into when it comes to fundraising or building partnerships and things like that, making connections in the community? What are some areas where you think there's a lot of potential there that people aren't seeing and tapping into?
At the core, the Miss USA, Miss America, whatever organization, most of the time you're competing in is it's women getting education and career opportunities. And the people who are going to invest the most in that and who are going to resonate with that cause the most are women who are well educated and have fantastic careers. Unfortunately, we live in a world where men do control a lot of the money, but society's progressing and women are business owners, women are lawyers, women are doctors, they're lawmakers, and it's important that we're recognizing them and we're going to them as, hey, you're a woman that I look up to, that I'm aspiring to be. Here's where I am in that process, but I need help to get there. And I want to be sponsored. I want to work with women who are like you, who are the goal, and who can turn around and give back and create that for more women.
That's so smart. You're just so smart. I just think you're the coolest.
Well, I was totally obsessed with you when we met, so I'm like so excited that I'm getting to like give back.
Oh my gosh. Well, everyone should go follow Allie because she's so cool. We met a couple years ago and I've just loved watching your journey. You're so just awesome. So
Well,
I'm just
thank
so
you.
proud of you, honestly, because it's cool whenever you see someone and I feel like you might have been kind of new to pageants when we met.
Yeah,
Was that right?
very
Yeah,
new,
I think
very
I
new.
yeah, I think I remember that. And And I just am so proud of you and how you have really just made your mark and been incredible. So, I mean, you're
Yeah.
super awesome. So everyone should go follow you. You're so cool. Um,
So kind.
and you really bring a unique perspective also to the pageant world, because sometimes, we can get in a routine and what's comfortable and what everyone else is doing, but sometimes what is most successful is actually thinking outside the box and doing what no one else is doing. So I
Mhm.
love that you have really mastered that skill. Um, so kind of going off of the last question, when it comes to partnerships, what does building a mutually beneficial partnership look like? Because we don't want to just take, or give. We want it to be
Mhm.
mutually beneficial. We want it to be something that builds up and benefits both parties. So tell me some of those things about how you build those mutually beneficial partnerships and how you find those partnerships to begin with.
A lot of times you find, going back to networking, you find those partnerships at events or in rooms where they're talking about something that you care about. A lot of local libraries will have socials for government funded or nonprofits who are doing this work. Or you'll be invited to galas and events and fundraisers who are doing what you want to do as a title holder. You stand there, you smile for photos, you welcome people in, but those people that you're welcoming in are also the people who are doing the work or they're investing in the work. And it's really important that in that moment, you're explaining your connection to the cause and what you can do for that cause, because that's when those partnerships spark. And that's when they're like, oh, that's so cool. Like, we do this. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'd love to work together sometime. And honestly, most of the time, you just got to spell it out. Even if it's, you know, a shot in the dark, most of the time saying you want to work with somebody, they'll give you your card. I always say that I just ran out of business cards. And even if I have 12 million in my purse, because if you give somebody your information, you put the ball in their court to reach out. But if you take their information, then you can send an email literally the moment you leave the event. And now, you have their information, you can follow up, you can respond. So that's like a little sneaky trick that I'll offer up. But
Oh my gosh, I
it's
love that.
it's helpful, or make sure you remember names to connect with them on LinkedIn and send them a message. It never hurts to reach out and it never hurts to follow up. I've gotten so many partnerships by being ignored for 2 weeks and following up for a third time. And they're like, oh my goodness, I meant to respond to you and I got busy, especially when you're working in this like CSI, nonprofit, school based world. They, right now, for nonprofits, is a really, really hard time with a lot of federal and state level funding being cut for so many nonprofits around the country. A lot of federal funding has been withheld for certain nonprofits and certain initiatives, and that's scary for them. And so having extra hands right now is paramount, and having people who are willing to go in and do the work, and you're not going to charge them, especially as a title holder, because A, you're doing this because you're passionate about it, or B, you're doing it because, you want to be a quality of life or a community service winner, which either reason, you're putting in work for a good future for someone. And I think that's great. And so knowing that you're ready to go in, you're ready to work, you connect with the cause, you resonate with the mission, and you can speak to the people that they're working with is something that a lot of nonprofits are looking for in volunteers. They're looking for in people that they're working with, and being able to express that in a brief and impactful manner can get you in so many doors.
You are so smart. I'm just going to keep saying that. I really am loving this conversation. I kind of want to add on your point about the power of a follow-up. I think that's so
Yes.
good. And as someone who, I have this podcast, and obviously this is not, some huge corporation or nonprofit, but just from my little experience of hosting a podcast, there have been people who have reached out, asked to be on the podcast. I maybe responded right away, or maybe, saw it and was like, oh, I'm going to respond to that later. And, time goes by. I maybe thought about it again, but it kind of just, you forget about it. And then even like a month later, they reach back out and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, I meant to respond to this, or, let's circle back to this.
Mhm.
And they've ended up being guests on my podcast after initially not getting a response or not getting one right away. Because sometimes, people do get busy, and as much as I try to respond to all my emails, sometimes it's just not the best time right then. But when
Mhm.
you follow up in 2 or 3 weeks, and then it is the best time, and I'm like, yes, let's get together, let's do this. So don't worry about it being, a couple weeks going by. Follow up because that might be just the reminder that they need. They might have meant to respond to you and have thought you were so amazing and have wanted to partner with you, but life gets in the way. And so following up, that can put you back on their mind, and they might say, you know what? Also, the initiative that she followed up shows that she
Mm.
cares, shows that she really wants this, and it's gonna be a yes. So I love that advice, and I think sometimes we can be a little bit intimidated by that by
Yeah,
that waiting period. But if you just keep reaching out, it really you might get a yes with one more ask.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I love that. Okay, so what is your best tip or hack? You kind of touched on that hack. I want to hear more of these hacks. So, what are some
Mhm.
more of your tips or hacks for really building just success and accomplishing your goals? And when you really want something, what are your go-tos for like, okay, I'm going to make this happen, and here's how I'm going to do
So unfortunately, my biggest tip is delusion. And I joke with
it?
everybody that I live in this like perpetual state of delusional optimism. And I'm just convinced that it's all gonna be fine. It's all gonna work out. It's gonna go my way. Like this no is a not yet. It's not a flat out no. It doesn't mean that it's not in my future. It just means that I have to reapproach a different way, and that's okay. Um, for me, a lot of my like childhood and things that I went through really built resilience, and it taught me how to get back up over and over again. And I think that's an important skill to master first and foremost before you get any of the other little hacks, because nothing is going to match or outweigh relentlessness. And
Mhm.
a lot of these words that I'm throwing out there have a lot of negative connotation. And it's because sometimes persistence isn't always viewed as great until you're successful.
Mhm.
A lot of times all of these skill sets and things that startups and founders and they take a chance on when they're in that startup phase, like everybody thinks that they're crazy, that they're wasting their time, that, they're just no good. And it's important to note that that beginning of all of those same attributes that they possessed at that point are now viewed as amazing and aspirational.
Yeah.
And so I tell everybody, you're in your beginning stages of your billionaire top performer successful career. And it doesn't matter
Mhm.
what age you're at. Like if you just keep going, you're just at the first stage. And so just make sure like you start there and you know that. Past that, a lot of it is one hack that I like to tell everybody, and I'll share all my secrets. But um, if you meet a person and you really want to share a specific thing with them, whether it's, what you do, that you're CSI, if you're a pageant girl, your career, if you know you have something in common with somebody, and you really want to share that to like spark that conversation and to get that going, ask them that same thing about themselves. So if I really want to talk about my career and what I do for work, I would say, yeah, like what field are you in? Where do you work? They give the answer. Keep asking questions specifically on that topic until it gets to a point where they can't keep talking about themselves and it's only polite to ask about you.
Mhm.
And that sounds like a little crazy, but it makes it to where it comes up naturally. You get to be very interested. People love to talk about themselves.
Mhm.
Give them the opportunity. And then eventually they'll reciprocate if they're like a halfway decent person and they'll ask about you. You'll get the opportunity to bring it up. And all of a sudden it'll spark that conversation and the rest will flow super easy. Um, it's in the adult networking world, there's like three questions that you always start off with, is who are you here with? If you're at an event, they're usually here with a sponsor, an organization, something. What do you do for work? How long have you lived here? Those are like the three go-to questions that you'll hear over and over again at any networking, any event. But if you stay on those topics long enough, especially if you know that they're with an organization because you saw them sit at that table, or you knew that one person they were talking to, but maybe they're like higher up and they're the better person to build a partnership with. Like just hammer home those questions until it gets to a point to where you get to really take that conversation off on the loop. It might feel awkward for a second, but eventually it'll get back to where you need it to go. You have to just stay persistent and stay smiley. It's really hard for people to say no and to walk away from somebody who is really excited and enthusiastic about a conversation. Don't go like jumping off the walls and being silly and goofy, but hey, how are you? Oh my goodness, yes, this event's so fun. Where do you work? Oh my goodness, that's so cool. And you just like have to stay on them, pump up their ego a little bit, but it most of the time will end up like being super beneficial not only to you, but to the organization you're trying to work with. Sometimes you just have to help people get out of their own way.
I also think that people love helping other people.
They
And
do.
that especially when someone has built successors in a position and someone who wants to be where they are comes to them and asks for help, they're more than willing to give that help. And
Mhm.
I'm going to bring up another example, but a lot of times girls will reach out to me for advice and they almost always start like the DM with, "You're probably never going to see this." And I'm like, "Girl, I check all my messages." Like, yes, I'm seeing this and I'm going to respond because I love to be able to help people who might be competing for a title that I've competed for in the past or who are doing something that I've done in the past. I love being able to help those people and to give them that advice, that information. Here's what I've learned. I mean, really, that's why I started this podcast to begin
Yeah.
with. People love to help other people. And so sometimes, there is so much power in just to ask. I also love your optimistic delusion. That's so funny. I have something similar that I call blind faith in myself.
Yes.
And so I'm
All
like,
the same thing.
I'm like, why wouldn't it be me? Why, why wouldn't it work out? I have so much just blind faith in myself for no reason, but
Mhm.
it has served me well more times than it hasn't. So I'm gonna keep having blind faith in myself. You
Exactly.
keep having your optimistic delusion, and we'll just be successful together.
Exactly. You got to just keep the train moving
Yeah, I love
somehow.
that so much. Alrighty, so as we wrap up, I would love to ask because it is sort of the inspiration behind the podcast and the name of it. How do you personally define success?
Like you, I'm a goal setter.
Mhm.
And for me, it's setting a goal and checking it off the list. And sometimes that looks like waking up at a reasonable hour today. Sometimes it looks like drinking less than 400 milligrams of caffeine. Sometimes it looks like speaking at the United Nations. And
Mhm.
it's okay to have that wide range, but knowing that you're putting your best foot forward and you're working until you see that check mark is how you live a successful life.
I love that. Is there anything else that you would like to say to our audience? Anything else you want to talk about? We can still do a deep dive on anything you want. So I want to give you
um,
the opportunity to say anything else you want to say.
I think the biggest thing for me is, know yourself, know your mission. If you're a title holder, a pageant girly, like truly take the time to sit down and just brain dump or write out, dump into Chat GPT and say everything that you want to do with your life or you want to get out. Have it organize it in a cohesive manner. And then take those things and find 2 to 3 sentences of how you can quickly pitch yourself to anyone who relates to that topic at all and then go out and just pursue people and organizations that align with that. And you have no idea how far you'll get with just having like an aligned vision with complete strangers.
I love that. That's, oh gosh, you're just banger after banger over here. This is so good. Alrighty, well, thank you so much for your time today, Allie. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, such a good podcast. I hope everyone listens to this and just take notes. I want to go back and listen to this and take some notes. You're so incredible, and I just wish you all the luck in the world in everything you do. But you don't need luck because you have worked hard for everything you have, and you'll continue to do that. And I'm so proud of you. Oh my gosh, you're so
Well,
cool.
well, thanks so much for having me today. And I'm excited to not only listen to this podcast, but all the ones to come.
Hi, friend. If you enjoyed this episode, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast for more motivation. And if you have a suggestion for what you want to hear about next, please reach out to me on Instagram at Bailey G Guy. Connect with me there and let me know what you want to see next on Define Success.